As a heads up to you, my many viewer, I started working crunch time this week at work, which it's early crunch time, so that means it's basically 10-hour days, 6 days a week. And as the next few months go on, it'll eventually become 12 and maybe potentially 15-hour days, 6 days a week, and maybe even more than 6 days a week, maybe just continuously for like 3 weeks. Who knows what's going to happen? This is what it's like to work in the tech industry when you have a project that has a deadline and it's rapidly approaching. I'm telling you this because it may affect the quality of my videos. I know what you're saying. You have quality in your videos? Yes, I tend to believe that I do at some point. So that means there's going to be a lot more stream of consciousness videos down the line. That means there will probably be a lot less editing tricks. That means there will be potentially more missed, like, flubbed words and phrases in my various videos, and it's just the quality of the videos may drop a little bit because the time that I have to work on the videos is going to drop drastically. If you want to see an example of what this is like, just go back to whatever videos was 52 weeks before this. So that would be what? This is 59, so 97, like videos 7 through like 20 maybe. Those should have all been during my crunch time last year. However, these videos this year during crunch time should be better than those videos, but that's just because of, repetition and practice and upgrades in various things. Anyway, that's it. Just a warning. Quality may go down. Loopiness may go up though, so you have that to look forward to. Roll the thing. Hey guys, Sean here. So I love Marvel Comics. I have always preferred them over DC, although I don't necessarily hate DC, but I just always preferred Marvel over DC, except for when it comes to animated, I prefer DC over Marvel, and now I have kind of derailed the topic because I want to talk about Marvel, not necessarily DC, and I'm talking about DC potentially as equal to Marvel. Anyway, Marvel Comics. As I have stated in previous videos, every Wednesday I go to the comic book store and I pick up the latest issue of my favorite Marvel comics that have come out that week. And actually I now get a poll list, which is something I've never done before. That is basically where you're like, hey, I want these comics, save these comics for me, and then they order them specifically for you every week so that they ensure that there is a copy there for you. It helps the comic book store owner because they know how many issues they need to order, and then it helps you because they just hand you them when you walk in. As I've stated in the past, my current favorite comic is the unbelievable Gwenpool. How much do I love Gwenpool? Well, here's a pop figure of her where she's holding a sword. Here's a Toys R Us exclusive pop figure of her where she's holding a gun and her cell phone. Here's a Walgreens exclusive pop figure of her where she's holding a sword but she's not wearing her mask. Here's a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive pop figure where she's holding a gun and a selfie stick, although they did end up eventually selling this one at Hot Topic, which is where I got it. Here's a rock candy figure of her, which was also exclusive to San Diego Comic-Con, and I ended up having to buy on eBay, but luckily it wasn't as popular as I think people thought it was going to be, so the price was pretty low. And here is a Marvel Diamond Select statue of her, which I had put on order for me at the comic book store. So as you can see, I love all things Gwenpool, and a major part of that is the writer, Christopher Hastings, who I have also talked about many times on this channel. But there's another person who is equally as important to the story of Gwenpool as Christopher Hastings, and that is this lass right here, Heather Antos. Heather Antos is the editor of The Unbelievable Gwenpool, but she's also the editor for all things Deadpool and all things Star Wars. Now the funny thing is, I didn't know who Heather Antos was until like maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and as it turns out, I was buying every comic that she was editing. It wasn't until Christopher Hastings retweeted a few things that she had posted on Twitter, and I was like, okay, who is this Heather Antos that he keeps retweeting? And then I looked her up and it's, oh, she's the editor on all of these books that I've been collecting. How? Well, I don't necessarily read the credits at the beginning of comics because I'm a terrible person, and so I didn't notice that the same person was editing all of these comics that I was purchasing and reading and loving. So I started following her on Twitter, and I was like, wow, she's really an amazing person. And she really cares about Marvel Comics. And now she is the only comic book editor that I can name. Because again, horrible person. So about 2 weeks ago, something happened that proved that the internet is not only the absolute worst thing that's ever happened to humanity, it is also the absolute best thing that has ever happened to humanity. Heather Antos and some of the other women of Marvel went to get milkshakes during lunch one day, and she posted this picture on Instagram and Twitter. It's an innocent picture of women going out and enjoying a milkshake together, and their commonality is that they all just happen to work for the same company. Well, unfortunately for these women, they have chosen to make a living in an industry that, since its inception up until recently, has been male-dominated, not just on the production side of it, but also on the consumer side of it. Nowadays, the readership of comics is split pretty evenly between males and females, but unfortunately there is a small subsect of males that, for whatever reason, cannot let go of the past and are just like, no. Women are not allowed to read comics. Comics is our thing. That's what they sound like. They're because they're like big babies. So what happened when Heather Antos posted her innocent picture of her and her friends getting milkshakes? Well, she started to get comments like, this is what's wrong with comics today, and this is why Marvel Comics is failing, which it isn't, and this is why I stopped reading comics, you're not missed, and, you know, just various other male trash coming out of the woodwork and just bashing her for posting this picture. And it continued into the next day, where when she woke up she was getting threats and direct messages from males, and on her Xbox Live account she was getting messages because she has that posted on her Twitter bio. And it was just ridiculous that all these men were attacking her for the unexcusable action of going out and having milkshakes with her friends who all happen to work at Marvel. So that is the internet is the worst thing that's ever happened to humanity part. It has given a voice to people who use that to attack people that they, for whatever reason, I guess feel threatened by? I don't know. I don't understand the reasoning. I will never be able to understand the reasoning behind attacking someone in this manner. So what is the good side of this? Well, as many negative, angry little baby children over here that got all mad that a bunch of girls went out and got milkshakes, there was about 10 times more people over here that were like, you know, basically, you go girl, and that sort of stuff. A majority of the writers and artists and just all other people that worked at Marvel just came out and were like, why are you attacking these wonderful women that we have in our company? Like, this, you call yourself superhero fans, yet you're acting absolutely in no way like a superhero would. Like, could you imagine Spider-Man just attacking a woman for posting a picture of herself getting a milkshake? No, because he's a superhero. He wouldn't do something like that because he's a hero. Although, to be fair, villains wouldn't do that either because they're too busy trying to take over the world and kill people and stuff like that. So they wouldn't bother with petty internet bullcrap like this. Dr. Doom does not have a Twitter account, but I digress. So what happened next? Well, a hashtag was started because that's what happens in these situations. Hashtags are started. Fans of these women and Marvel Comics in general started a hashtag that was based on an old slogan of Marvel's, which was Make Mine Marvel, and it was repurposed for Make Mine Milkshake. So the fans all went out and they bought comics in support of these women, and not only that, they then went and bought milkshakes along with it to show their solidarity for this situation. And then one of the most amazing things happened, and that is the women of DC Comics went out and got milkshakes together in solidarity for the women of Marvel. Now, Marvel and DC are bitter rivals with each other, but they also have a very love-hate relationship for each other. A lot of artists and writers have gone back and forth between the two, and in the past there has been crossover events where characters from DC and characters from Marvel will interact with each other in special events throughout the years, but mainly they are each other's main competition for each other. And it's been a long time since they've had a moment of solidarity like this. Like, the last time I can remember something like this happening was when DC moved their offices from New York to LA because Warner Brothers finally was like, all right, move all of the DC stuff to LA. And, you know, DC and Marvel, part of the reason why they've been bitter rivals with each other is they were both based in New York. And when that happened, Marvel tweeted out some tweet about, hey, we're going to miss you or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a nice little like nod to them both being in New York, and now they're on both. They're now East Coast, West Coast, like rappers or something. And so that was very nice to see. That was a very positive, nice thing to see. The fandom of Marvel and comics in general took this ugly, just nasty little ball of internet here and turned it into something very positive and nice. And I will admit that that week when I went and got comics, I did then go get a milkshake because I'm a lemming. So, as I said at the beginning of this video, I am going to start having less and less time over the next few months, but there was one thing that I wanted to do. Okay, there was one thing I knew I had to do. I didn't necessarily want to do it before I started to get into crunch time and I wouldn't have time to do it. And that is this.
Las puertas cerradas, manteniendo sus manos, brazos, pies y piernas adentro, mientras el tranvía está en movimiento. Y vigilen a sus niños.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Sunset Theater. Go ahead, choose any row you like and move on down. We have plenty of seats available. While you're getting settled, we do have just a few friendly reminders for you.
The next summer appearance will be in 3 minutes. Again, the next summer appearance showcase will be in 3 minutes.
Tonight, this is the start of the Open
She's like kind of like hidden.
Oh, you said you don't know the sign.
Yeah. But it's trash.
thought the tour sounded fun.
We take a picture of the wall. Yeah, more tonight.
My friends, you're one step closer to your exciting encounter with the Guardians of the Galaxy. You are now standing in my private office.
I know, right? For those of you who have not been paying attention, the name's Rocket, one of the Guardians of the Galaxy, the smart one. Listen up, he's gonna put you on a gantry lift for your tour. I'm gonna sneak on top of your lift and take us all the way to the big old generator control room. I'm gonna blast that thing and destroy all the control systems, which will open up every cage in this freak show and free my friends.
Oh my gosh.
Somebody do something, someone please.
I'm so glad I did that, but never again. Never again. Okay, I say never again, but I'm sure at some point someone will drag me onto that thing again, and then I will write it again, but never again. So just a quick recap of everything that you just saw. Basically, Disneyland is currently doing the Summer of Heroes, which is, they have a bunch of Marvel-related things going on in Disney California Adventure, mainly because the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout ride just opened up, which Christopher Hastings actually wrote a comic book adaptation of, which I have yet to read, but now that I have ridden the ride, I can read it and it will hopefully make sense. Although I'm assuming that since Christopher Hastings is a very good writer, it probably makes sense if you haven't ridden the ride, and maybe it just is enhanced. So I walked in, I walked past Mickey and Minnie, who are always, for whatever reason, standing in those two spots whenever I go to California Adventure. It's like they never take breaks, they're just always there. And then I walked around to where the Muppets 3D theater used to be. Well, I mean, it's still there, but they have turned it into the Marvel Hero Showcase, and it's basically just like a big 5-minute edit of all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, except for Spider-Man, because I have a feeling that's because that was a Sony movie, which was, well, it was a Marvel movie which was distributed and produced by Sony, so technically it's not, it's complicated. But yeah, they have a similar thing in Tomorrowland in the Magic Kingdom, where it's about all of the Star Wars movies, which is the Path of the Jedi. And they, you know, they show all these various clips edited together to kind of tell the overarching story of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and then there's like lights and things in the theater, and it's all like, ooh, ah. And then, so that, yeah, that was that, and then I walked out of there, and then I went over to the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, which used to be the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. But Disney doesn't own Twilight Zone. They have to license Twilight Zone. So why not change that ride into something that they own completely, and then they don't have to pay licensing rights for it anymore. So they changed it to Guardians of the Galaxy. So basically you go into the Collector's Museum, and the Guardians of the Galaxy are on display in the Collector's Museum, and then with the help of Rocket Raccoon, who escapes, you help him get the other Guardians of the Galaxy free, and using a gantry lift, which, you know, is just fancy word for elevator. And it's, oh, I hate it so much. I don't hate the ride, like the atmosphere of the, like the fact that it's all Guardians of the Galaxy, everything Guardians of the Galaxy related, I absolutely love in it. It's just the ride itself I hate, and I always hated the Tower of Terror too. I liked, you know, the stuff, all of the theme and everything of Tower of Terror, but it's just the ride itself, because you're just sitting in like a big elevator, and the thing just goes up, and then it drops, and it goes up, and it drops, and it goes up, and it drops, and it drops, and it's all random, and you never know what it's gonna do. And I just hate drop rides so much, especially if it's a straight drop, because it affects me in an unpleasant way. But that's why I said it was something that I didn't want to do, but it's something that I needed to do, because I did need to ride that ride at some point. The only downside is the ride is set to a song, and there's actually 5 different songs. And so there's technically 5 different versions of the ride. And so a more crazy person who enjoys that sort of thing could ride that ride over and over and over in hopes of getting all the different versions of the ride, much like I do with Star Tours every time I go to Disneyland. But no, I can't do it. But yes, if you're in Disneyland and you're at California Adventure, I definitely recommend riding Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, but you know, that's if you like that sort of ride, or if you like Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh, and really quickly, I just wanted to clarify that there's the part in the footage where I walk up to the front of the gold statue of the collector, and then there's the 30 minutes later, and then I walk up to the back of the statue of the collector. It's not like it took me 30 minutes to just walk around the collector there. There was, you know, the line went zigzag around and kind of out back into the park, and then back into the queue system. And so that's what took 30 minutes. It's not like it took me 30 minutes to walk 2 steps. I mean, theoretically, it took me 2 minutes to walk 2 steps, but that's because the journey to get there was much longer. It's almost like it's a metaphor for something. I don't know what. But anyway, that's gonna do it for me this week. We'll see if this video ends up getting a copyright strike like one of my previous Disneyland videos did, but that's because I left too much of the audio from Disneyland in the video, and they were like, okay, you can't monetize this because you're using a song that you don't own the rights to. And I was like, I don't really make money on these videos anyway, because I don't have 10,000 total views yet, so I can't even monetize videos technically. I mean, I can click them and make them monetizable, but I don't actually get money from it until I've had 10,000 views. This is too much information, too much behind the scenes that you don't care about right now. You're just waiting for me to get through the outro of this video. So you know what? If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more of the crazy crap that goes on around here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to support the crazy crap that goes on around here, because as I said, I don't make ad revenue yet, go ahead and hit up my Patreon. And with that, have a good however long it is until you watch my next video.